There's a call from Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount that went beyond what human ears were used to hearing. In Matthew chapter 5, from verses 27 to 37, he doesn't just quote the law, but he shows the true meaning of what God expects from the human heart. There, the teacher talks about adultery, being pure, divorce, and promises, showing that Christian life isn't just about outside rules, but about a deep change inside. He invites his followers to live not just on the surface of following rules, but in the deep truth of being honest, holy, and having good character. This message, even though it was said 2,000 years ago, still speaks strongly to us today, because it talks to the human heart, to temptation, to being loyal, and to the value of your own word. If you want to understand how to live the pure life that Jesus asks for, and the truth that he wants, stay until the end, because this message can change your spiritual journey. And before we go on, I invite you, hit the like button on this video. Leave a comment about how God has spoken to you, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any messages. Jesus starts this part by saying, "You heard what was said, do not commit adultery. But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart." Here we have something new and amazing. The law said, "Do not commit adultery." In other words, don't do the physical act of cheating. But Jesus goes deeper. It's not enough to just avoid physical adultery. Your heart and eyes must also be guarded. He shows that sin doesn't start when you do something, but in the desire that grows inside your mind and heart. He calls his followers to watch their thoughts and what they want. This message is especially needed in a world full of pictures, things that grab your attention, and temptations. If in Jesus' time it was possible to fall just by a look or desire, imagine today when bad behavior spreads through screens, social media, and ads. Jesus doesn't just say the act is wrong, but also growing impure desires, because he knows that's where sin starts and is carried out. This makes us think, how have we guarded our eyes? Our heart is shaped by what we constantly see, read, and take in. Physical adultery is what happens when a heart isn't guarded. That's why Jesus is so strong when he says, "If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell." He's not talking about actually hurting yourself, but about making a very strong spiritual choice. It's a call to give things up. If something makes us stumble, we must cut it out of our lives. It could be a habit, something you watch, a bad relationship, something that seems small, but has the power to pull your heart away from God. Many want to follow Jesus without giving up anything, but here he teaches that following the kingdom means making sacrifices. It's better to lose a short pleasure than to lose forever. The second part of this teaching talks about divorce. He says, "It was also said, whoever divorces his wife must give her a certificate of divorce. But I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife, except for sexual immorality, makes her an adulteress, and anyone who marries a divorced woman commits adultery." Once again, Jesus challenges the simple way people understood the law. In those days, divorce was treated lightly, and many men would separate for any reason, treating women like they were disposable. Jesus corrects that view and shows that marriage is a holy agreement before God, not just something convenient for a short time. He raises the bar. Marriage should be kept, and breaking that agreement has serious spiritual results. What do we learn here? First, that God values agreements. Marriage is not just a human contract, but a spiritual union made before the Lord. Therefore, it should be treated with seriousness, respect, and loyalty. Second, we understand that true love requires staying strong, forgiving, and being committed. We live in times when relationships have become like things you throw away. But Jesus calls us to live out agreements that show God's faithfulness. The hardness of the human heart leads to breaking apart, but God's grace can fix, heal, and make broken relationships new. This message asks us to look at our values and to honor the agreements we make before God and people. Jesus then talks about a third point, promises. He says, "You also heard what was said to your ancestors. Do not break your promise, but carry out the vows you have made to the Lord. But I tell you, do not make any promises at all, not by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. And do not promise by your head, for you cannot make even one hair white or black. Let your yes be yes, and your no, no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. What is Jesus teaching here? That a follower's honesty should be so strong that no promise is needed for them to be believed. In his time, it was common for people to make promises, pledges, and oaths to make their words seem more important. But in reality, this showed a lack of good character. If someone needed to promise by heaven or earth, it was because their word wasn't good enough on its own. Jesus then sets a simple and powerful rule. Let your yes mean yes, and your no mean no. This is a call to be truthful, honest, and consistent in how you live. This teaching is very important today. We live in a society where lying is seen as normal, where people say what benefits them, change their minds based on what they want, and where words have lost their meaning. Jesus calls us to bring back honesty, to be open, trustworthy, and loyal. A Christian should not live by how things look on the outside, but be someone whose word has weight because it's supported by their character. Yes should mean commitment, and no should mean a strong belief. This shows God's own character, which is faithful and true. When we put these three teachings together, about being pure, marriage, and honesty, we see that Jesus isn't just worried about what we do on the outside, but about our heart. He shows that adultery starts with a look, that breaking a marriage starts with a hard heart, and that lying starts with a lack of honesty inside. He goes to the very root of the problem. While the law focused on how things looked, Jesus focuses on the true meaning. This reminds us that being a Christian isn't just about following rules, but about changing from the inside out. It's letting the Holy Spirit shape our minds, our intentions, and our character so we can be like Christ himself. So, this text challenges us in three practical ways. First, to guard our heart and our eyes, living purely in a world that isn't pure. Second, to honor the agreements we make, especially marriage, with seriousness and loyalty. Third, to live with honesty, letting our word be trustworthy without needing to make promises. These three areas show God's character and the kingdom He wants to show through us. And maybe you're asking yourself, how can we live up to such a high standard? The answer is in God's grace. We can't do it by our own strength, but the Holy Spirit helps us to live in holiness, loyalty, and truth. When we give ourselves to the Lord, He changes our heart, makes our relationships stronger, and gives us courage to live with honesty. This text isn't just a heavy demand, but a chance to experience the full life that Jesus offers. If this message spoke to you today, I invite you. Hit the like button on this video, leave a comment about how God has shaped you in these areas, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, and subscribe to the channel to keep getting messages that build up your faith. May the Lord help us to live with purity, loyalty, and truth, showing the light of Christ in every part of our lives.